It's been quite some time since I've actually spoken about MOrdhau, but you guys seem really interested from my last video about it and you want me to keep you updated. So MOrdhau have actually released a massive developer blog about talking about the road to release, some new details that they've actually put in from the alpha and everything in between. So that's what we're going to be going into today, but please make sure you click the link in the description to go and watch the full video put out by the MOrdhau guys. I want you guys to support them, subscribe to their channel, definitely. This is just a quick summary of everything and basically my thoughts on it. So let's get straight into the video. First off, we're talking a bit about archery. There's a new sway mechanic which makes it more realistic to actually play as archery, but it makes it a little bit harder. It means that you can't just hold your bow because it's going to actually shake and you're going to be less accurate the longer you hold it, but you're going to have to learn this skill, and once mastered, it's going to be very effective. Armor is now improved, so it's more effective against missiles, but you have to be very specific about where you're shooting. For example, shooting a player with a heavy helmet on won't do as much damage as shooting someone with an exposed limb or with just cloth on their leg. So not only now do you actually have to watch out about where you're shooting to get critical hits, of course everyone knows that the head is normally a critical hit in game, but you have to watch out for what armor they've got on, because of course plate armor is very effective against missiles, especially arrows. Now, the main game mode that's going to be the forefront of MOrdhau, which I think is the most exciting and I can't wait to get my hands on, is the frontline game mode. Now, this is the 64-player tug of war with linear capture points. So this means that you have a first capture point that you've got to take, and then you've got to move on and push and pull until one team eventually wins. We can see some of these maps on the gameplay, and my god, they look absolutely insane. The amount of detail that they put in with all the bodies, with all the rubble, with fire everywhere, it looks incredible. It's taken what they was inspired by chivalry and it's just put it and ranked it up to the next level, and I can't wait to be able to get my hands on this. And with 64 players on a map, oh, we're going to have some interesting battles as well. But not only do you have the other players to watch out for, but there are going to be things like traps. You just watch where you put your feet, otherwise you're going to fall into a hole where the rest of the children are kept. But furthermore, there's going to be things like sieging castles as well. I don't know, they mentioned that there's going to be a final siege at the end of the whole frontline game mode, so maybe it's going to be someone's defending and the other person's attacking, or who knows. It's more of a tug of war thing though, but that's some more information that we're probably going to have to find out soon. Now, a bit like Mount and Blade, the horse combat, which we do know is in the game, is momentum based, which means the faster you are, the more damage you're going to have to do, but you're going to have to time your attacks well. There's things like swords and lances that you're going to be able to use on horseback, but make sure you're using them well, because if you don't know how to use horses properly, it's going to be more of a disadvantage to your team than an advantage. We know that there's going to be some sort of artillery. We've got ballistas and catapults which can kill multiple enemies at once that are going to be on castle walls and in defensive positions. But let's move on to more of the combat. So the hand-to-hand combat is a big point of MOrdhau. It's sort of the main point that they're really trying to look at here and make it as realistic as possible and make it as satisfying as possible to play with. In order to keep the combat as realistic as possible, they're taking out the options for things like spinning attacks. I know that was a bit of an annoyance in chivalry for a lot of people when people just go in and spin and kill everyone at once, because, you know, there's not much you can do against a madman spinning with a greatsword in his hand. That was an interesting Friday night. But they still want to be able to keep it so you're able to fight multiple enemies if you have the skill, just not, you know, spam the hell out of the game. So keeping the combat as realistic as possible, but while making it so if you master it properly, you're still going to be devastating on the battlefield. Now, there's things like when you take damage, some small effects, some graphical things that they've been improved, such as locational wounds. So if you get hit on the arm, you're going to get a scar on your arm, and if you get sliced on the arm hard enough, you will lose your arm, and same with all your other limbs, especially your head. Furthermore, there is a new loadout system. As you can see on screen, they've completely overhauled the way you're actually going into the battles, but this is a loadout system that's more based on points. It's trying to balance the game and make it a bit fairer, so everyone's sort of in the same boat here. So it's down to do with skill, but not necessarily the armor you've got. But you still have some customization about what you can actually do. So the points work, so if you want heavier armor, you're going to have to compromise a bit. You're going to be slower on the battlefield, but it's also going to cost more points. So maybe you're going to have some weaker weaponry, or on the other hand, you can do vice versa. There's also the inclusion of different perks, which make you have to use different loadouts throughout. So you gain an advantage maybe in heavier armor, or even just light armor. Or I think in the gameplay they even showed you gain an advantage with wearing like pitchforks and just cloth and stuff like that. That's a perk that can be used in the battle, which is going to be interesting to see some naked people running around. I mean, that's pretty much my life at the moment anyway. Furthermore, smoke and firebombs have been added, so we're going to be able to get some interesting player dynamics with that. Now, I did mention traps before, but also players can place down their own traps, such as bear traps, which can rip your legs off or can do a lot of damage if you've got a bit of armor on as well, and some dynamic changes to the maps. The maps aren't just going to stay stationary throughout. Things like palisades and some defenses can actually be destroyed with axes and so on, but they can also be repaired. So maybe you're going to be able to open up new routes for your players to go through and your teammates to be able to flank and attack through the enemies. And I suspect that some of the sieges that you're going to be able to destroy some of the crenellations and battlements on the stone structures, but that's nothing that is confirmed at the moment. But when are we going to be able to play the game? Well, the alpha is out at the moment. I've done a bit of gameplay on it in the past. Go and watch that if you haven't already. But they said that they don't have an exact release date. It's kind of just turning into Bannerlord at this point. They are trying to get it out for early 2019. I know it's a bit later than what they first thought. It first said that they were trying to get it for March 2018, but that was missed by quite a while, I think it's safe to say. But 2019 is a nice date for them. It means they've got enough time to do anything. They want to put a polished game out and not completely rush. But thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you go and follow me on Twitter and join my Discord if you want to stay up to date with what's going on at the moment. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. But until then, guys, I will see you in the next one.